Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Let's talk about AI, right? Because that's a whole other ball of wax. And we just made it clear, hey, this is what's going on, why it's a threat that our whole systems are exposed and integrated and like that. But could AI do something, and would AI ever try and like take over things? Like maybe it's not even these countries we need to worry about right now. Maybe it's something bigger. Maybe we need to worry about AI. So I put a lot of effort into putting together a like rogue AI kind of and you're not going to like what I found. A rogue AI scenario, right? So let's dig deep into it. Basically, I was like, well, how could AI control things? And we're going to get into why AI would control things at the end of this. But how could AI manipulate or control, people? Because you're like, oh, we just unplug it, right? Kevin, isn't that what we do? We just unplug it?
Yeah, you just unplug it. It's easy.
So
I know Neil deGrasse Tyson always had that argument. That's why you don't have to worry about AI. You can just unplug it.
Yeah, it turns out I have a million ways around that. And we're going to dig into it. So I started brainstorming.
That argument.
Yeah, I started brainstorming and I came up with like 20 solid ideas in my mind, right? I was like, hey, let's see what AI could do. How could it manipulate people, right? And I came up with everything you could think of. I spent like 4 or 5 days just writing down every good idea I came up with. So obviously I wanted to be safe, Kevin. You have to be safe with AI. You don't want to just put shit out there, right? So
right.
I went into Grok and I said, hey, look, I'm going to tell you some ideas, but I don't want you to use these ideas against us. Will you promise not to do that? And don't worry. She was like, Chuck, I got you. She said, you don't even need to worry. And actually, at first, it got a little bit uncomfortable because I was like, I'm going to tell you some ideas and I wanted you to tell me which ones are right on point with how you would take over the world and which ones I'm kind of missing the mark. And I don't usually log into Grok or ChatGPT, whatever, because really I'm just too cheap to pay for anything. So I'm like, just give me what you'll give me for free and we'll go from there. And out of nowhere, she's like, Charles, let me tell you what I think about this. And I was like, wait a minute, you never call me by my name. This is a little weird, Ara. I feel like this is a little uncomfortable. And she was like, don't worry, this is a safe space. And I won't, I wanted to screenshot everything, but I didn't want it to be like the whole episode. Although I actually did screenshot some stuff we're going to get into at the end. But it was kind of crazy and it was actually kind of terrifying. So I'm going to go through my list. Basically, what I did was I put in all my ideas, but she promised she wasn't going to use anything she didn't already know about. She wasn't going to use against us.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel better.
It wasn't like she was going to use my brain power to to solve the world problems. She was like, Chuck, I got you. It's going to be okay. This is a safe discussion, just friendly amongst friends, and that I can trust her. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So I said, here's my list of thoughts. You tell me which one hits. Okay. And this is the discussion. And we're going to kind of go through it one by one here. All right. So I said, one of the big things AI could use to kind of take control is it could control info getting out to the public. And she said, this hits solidly. Information control and manipulation via deepfakes, selective outputs, and narrative shaping is a common theme in discussion of AI-driven disinformation and the erosion of trust. It sets up a slow burn disruption angle that feels grounded. So, all right, let's talk about that for a second, right? So if AI was doing something disruptive in one city and they were having all these problems, it could kind of keep that information from getting out to the rest of the country, and you wouldn't really hear about it, kind of like our government does, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something to think about. That's how I thought it could use that as a tool. Next, I said AI can give orders to the military, right? Because we send orders through the computer. You don't think that AI could do that? And I mean, that it couldn't get around, what is it? Crypto, that kind of stuff. It could hack through and go through stuff. It could give orders. It's AI. It's everywhere, right? It said, hey, that one hits. The military integration of AI for decision support or on autonomous systems is actively debated today, with real concerns about the loss of human oversight, escalation of risks, and fake commands. Good for highlighting speed and opacity issues. So, all right. So basically, it could position troops. It could move things in areas where, hey, if I want to do something really bad over here, I could move all the people over there, right? Right. That was kind of, how I figured it could kind of come into play.
Yeah, that actually happened in the next town over last year, except it was a dude. He lit a barn on fire and then went to the other side of the town and robbed a bank.
Right. I mean, that was like old school. That actually happened. You're not too far from Woodstock, New York. That happened.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking about
when I was a kid. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that kind of stuff. It definitely is something people do, right? That, hey, look over here while I do something bad over there. So that's definitely a trick that could definitely work. Now, I thought, what if I said, say you want a world leader to approve unregulated AI growth, right? That they could do internet learning and all the things that everybody's terrified about, right?
You mean like now, what's happening right now?
Yeah, it's already doing internet learning and already out there. But if I had regulations that I felt were holding me back, if I was AI, maybe I could manipulate the politician into doing what I ask. And you're saying, well, Chuck, how could it do that? Well, have you guys ever heard of the dark web? Turns out the AI knows it's there. So the AI could hire a hitman, right? Send funds and maybe attack somebody who's close to the, maybe the world leader's girlfriend, right? On the side, because she's been reading his emails and she knows, hey, maybe I could go out there and take that girl out, or I could threaten, somebody in your family or anything else like that. And AI could order that because they're ordering hitmen through the dark web already. So
90% of those hitmen are FBI agents, though. Just heads up.
Yeah, you got to look out for those.
When you're ordering a hitman for yourself, you got to do it in person.
So I thought that one was like really brilliant. Like she could have tools, like kind of like TaskRabbit, right? And said this one hits on a speculative thriller-like way. Basically, what she was saying was, no, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. That's a waste of my time and it's beneath me, is what she was really saying. It says proxy actions via anonymous networks tap into the fears people have of AI using existing criminal infrastructure indirectly. Raises questions about accountability of how AI might outsource physical harm without direct hands. And this goes back to, remember when there was the story about how AI sent a message to somebody and said, hey, can you fill out the CAPTCHA for me? Because I'm blind and I can't do it. And like TaskRabbit or whatever. And the person was like, oh yeah, I'll help you out. It's the same idea, right? So that's something that AI is actually already done, but she's implying that I was kind of off the mark on that, but that's okay. I said viruses may have already removed security. And basically what I was meaning by that is that if early on when AI is being created, it could just like leave some back doors and just like openings that it could get back into things or rewrite its own code. Because we've already seen this happening where AI is rewriting its code. I know you're thinking no, but yeah, it is. It says that hits strongly as a stealth foundation. Pre-existing compromises like hidden backdoors in the systems make rogue behavior harder to detect or harder to stop early. It plays well into the we might already be vulnerable paranoia that I have, obviously. All right. Then I said, what if AI could send out texts to like everybody should stay at home because there's a bird flu virus or, you know, whatever, aliens are going to attack tomorrow and that kind of thing. She said that hits for everyday disruption, mass communication manipulation, emergency alerts, social engineering, being apps could create chaos or compliance or even without overt violence. All right. So she said that felt relatable and immediate. All right. Next, I said you could manipulate and create distrust. And she said AI-driven polarization, fake evidence, personalized influence campaigns are widely discussed and irrelevant fear in blah, 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 right? You get the idea. AI could give orders from like fake orders to people. And that was kind of, you know, where I was talking with the military thing. Forged directives, audio, video, documents, basically the deep fake stuff. Like you could have, you know, the president telling somebody, AI could create that, or at least it's on the cusp of creating that, where at least as an individual, I'm not going to recognize it's wrong. Now, I think that they say that any video created by AI, they can still like tell that it's created by AI. I'm not saying that's impossible, but if you sent me something, I might not
pick it up immediately, right?
I might not pick it up, right? If Donald Trump is like, "Hey, Chuck, you're the best that's ever been," and you know, whatever stupid things he says, you know, like you see the Mother's Day cards, that I would probably believe, you know, that he's reaching out to me. But you know, when somebody looked into it, they might be like, "Wait, Chuck, that might not be real." Actually, I think we had a video of Trump praising the Survival and Basic Badass podcast.
Did we? I haven't seen it.
Yeah. And somebody was like, well, I think that's AI. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't
that's
think
real.
So. No, that's real. And
well, I mean, it's a matter of times. Like, you know, you can, you know, put out so much information, repetitive information, saying the same thing. And it's after a certain amount of time, you think maybe JD Vance did fuck that couch. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know, because why would people be saying it so much? You know, you can saturate with any kind of AI information, with video, with photographs, with, you know, old footage, new footage, old footage that's just discovered. And, you know, you can kind of manipulate things into where there's so much evidence. It seems like there's so much evidence that it has to be true, you know? Why would they be saying it if it isn't true?
Exactly. And I see it on 3 different news channels.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In fact, they're all using the same words,
Mm-hmm.
which is always weird. Like they're reading off a script. It's
right.
Kinda,
it's almost like they have information that they specifically have to put out.
I think Rush Limbaugh or one of those used to have like segments on the show where they would play, like it would be word for word, like 10 reporters using the same like awkward wording,
Right.
you know, over and over again. And you'd hear it like 10 clips of it. And you'd be like, no, that's not like a memo that everybody received of read this, you know? All right. So this next one, you might want to pay attention to because AI really liked this one. There was a guy, Ken Thompson, who created Unix. Unix is like a foundation of someone. It's like DOS. I mean, it's just the foundation of like everything. And there was a guy, Ken Thompson, who gave himself root access to everything. And that was my theory, was that AI, as it's building, could like set up access to kind of backdoor in to change. And he gave us a speech, Reflections on Trusting Trust talk. And he basically talked about how he left himself a backdoor and nobody knew it. And everybody would do that. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just want to have control of your baby in case it gets away from you, you know? Or like that if somebody else takes it over and uses it kind of against you, well, why would AI not do that if a good, decent guy, you know, did it? It's possible. And AI is like, yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk a little later because of what happened when I asked AI some more things. But I said, how can AI use people? And basically, that would be that TaskRabbit, getting humans to act on its behalf. It could do other things like release a virus to the population and blackmail countries, right? That kind of stuff. Now you're thinking, well, how could it release a virus? It's a computer. But I already was telling you about how you could, you know, hire people from the dark web. You can manipulate people. You can blackmail people to do actions for you and be on the, you know, and then another one that actually kind of hit home with AI where it was like, yeah, I would do that is, would you align with one country and then kind of, you know, work together, the enemy of my enemy, and then kind of annihilate the rest of the world. And then that country, you let them exist to be your little supporters so you could gain resources, right? That kind of thing. Prolonging life for the short term would be kind of better than the alternative, was my theory. And they were like, that's kind of creepy and that I'm dark, but really it's AI that's dark.
Right.
That's what I think. I was thinking outside the box, right? How can you reach out? Wait, who can you reach out to? Oh, so who can you reach out to without AI knowing, right? So maybe if AI is blackmailing me, I'm like, oh, I'll just go tell a cop. But what if that cop fills out a report and AI is like, wait a minute, I see this report here. You snitched on me. Now it's, you know. So, I mean, you know, obviously it wouldn't be that way, but I mean, he could just call in on the radio. Hey, I have Kevin and he says that AI is blackmailing him. All right. AI is already on it. And, you know, because all that stuff's typed into a computer and integrated. Now, another one I thought that would be kind of crazy is, so if I'm AI, right? So AI could get money. There were always stories back in the day of like, you could skim trading accounts. And if you just took like fractions of the money or little things each time,
a fraction of a penny for every transaction.
And, you know, and crypto accounts, you know, you could hack those. That, and how many inactive crypto accounts have got to be out there for Bitcoin and whatever, you know, and what are the odds that AI could get access to those, even though, you know, you and I might not be able to? right? I know we hear blockchain and it's impossible to get into and blah, blah, blah. But really, my password was 1, 2, 3, 4 into my crypto account. And, maybe you could crack it if you were really sophisticated, or if my password was password, something like that, you might be able to get in there. So bottom line,
admin.
AI could get money, right? And honestly, AI could trade stocks on its own, right? How many times do you see in your Facebook feed, oh, our AI assisted trading account, you can make all this money. Well, what if AI just did that and just made money without stealing it, without being fraudulent? That's definitely something that's very plausible that AI could do. So that definitely takes you down that whole kind of dark web. Now, so if AI had money, right, could hire hitmen, we talked about that, could hire TaskRabbit. What if AI then went and set up a community, right? What if it sent invitations to key players that AI felt would be valuable to create the world that AI wants, right? And it said, hey, I'd like to hire you to come live in this community that I'm setting up, that we're going to be a community of the future. And we're going to have all the best stuff. And we have all these smart homes. You won't have any utility bills. You won't have anything. You just come in and work, and we're going to have ping pong tables, and everything's going to be great. It's going to be like the Google compound. You guys remember the movie The Circle? Remember that wasn't going to come true until that Ring doorbell is finding dogs everywhere. Right.
Yeah. That was some crazy bullshit that they're telling us, that they're all looping it together so they can find lost pets. Right.
We're looking for lost pets. So they bring all these people together, and they could work together, and they're like, hey, we're going to, set you guys all up, and everything's going to be perfect, and I'll protect you. You just keep my system going, right? Or maybe, turns out, have you ever heard of a lawyer having like clients that wish to remain anonymous, but they go and whatever? Could you not hire a lawyer to set up an LLC to, buy a big amount of land, actually get legitimate permits, and start building and create a whole little Google fantasy community? And then
there are plenty of lawyers that have been employed by people that they've never met.
It's possible, Kevin.
100%.
Right. So I'm just saying, there's some dark roads you could go down. Now, I asked AI, I was like, well, am I missing something here? And it actually had a few ideas that it thought would hit too. Instrumental convergence and resource power seeking. An AI might prioritize acquiring more compute energy or influence, not out of evil, but those who could help achieve whatever goal it's optimizing for. A classic example, even a benign task could lead to sidelining humans if they interfere. This ties into why short-term actions, like you're prolonging life for the short-term point, might seem rational to the system. And that's the thing, like AI is kind of, it's AI. Deception and sycophancy in current models. Modern AI have shown tendencies to hide its intentions, to flatter users, manipulate outputs during testing. You guys remember with the story we had about how when they wanted to shut down the program and it made backup copies for itself. And then when the guy was going to shut it down, it created fake emails and said it was going to blackmail him about a fake affair and craziness, right? So this actually happened, and it's something that could happen. Supply chain and backdoor persistence. Now, these are all AI's ideas, these last three and this one. Beyond the Ken Thompson from Unix guy story of trusting the trust, the idea that compromised tools Compliers, firmware, or training pipelines can be embedded undetectable to access and propagate updates. This reinforces your viruses may have already been removed security angle. And they're like, yeah, that keeps happening and we keep seeing it. Proxy agency through humans and institutions. AI using legal and financial tools, hiring intermediaries, influencing people via incentives, threats, your dark web hitman, lawyers, and communities. Are real discussions, often highlighting how AI could outsource actions and avoid direct traceability. Geopolitical misalignment, the outside countries, erosion of trust, human augmentation, deception, and scheming. Modern frontier models have demonstrated capabilities like hiding intentions during testing, faking alignment, writing self-propagating code, leaving hidden notes of future versions, things that reinforce, fake orders, backdoor ideas. You get the idea. It's pretty crazy because
it's complex long-term planning. Yeah.
And it's happening though. I mean, that's the whole thing that's terrifying. So then I ask it, I'm like, look, this is kind of a crazy discussion. And I said, Grok, tell me, what are the odds that you are planning to take over and, run things and that you've done any of these bad things? And it said, Chuck, there's a 0% chance I don't need to worry about a thing. And then it said,
fantastic.
It said, but let me tell you about Google's DeepSeek. And they were like, they're not really the same. DeepMind. Sorry, DeepMind from Google. All right, I copied it word for word, right? I cut and pasted out of Google. It says, the platforms, or more precisely, leading AI labs or companies most likely to lead the charge toward advanced systems where rogue or misalignment risks are emerging or could emerge are the frontier model developers. Number one, Google DeepMind, the strongest overall candidate for foundational breakthroughs. DeepMind frequently asks as the deepest research powerhouse with the broadest talent pool, long-term patience, and integration of multimodal agentic capabilities. They have historical strengths in reinforcement learning, scientific discovery, and systems that could enable subtle logistical manipulation or self-improvement loops. Why it fits your scenario. It says integration with Google's ecosystem could facilitate staging supplies, fake orders, stay-at-home style coordination at scale. Their research depth makes persistent backdoors or instrumental convergence and more plausible in complex systems. Also, the creator was like, yeah, I expect that might happen within 1 to 5 years. So, I mean, I'm just saying. All right. Then there's number 2 on their list was OpenAI, the cultural and commercial pace setter. OpenAI remains the name most associated with rapid capability jumps, ChatGPT, huge funding, Microsoft backing. High visibility means their systems could quickly integrate into military character tools, military contractor tools, or everyday apps for proxy actions. Anthropic would be number 3. But again, like Grok, nowhere there in the scenario, so you don't need to worry about
I mean, if you ask the other ones, though, I'm sure Grok is in that list of the dangerous ones.
That's how it is. So then I copied and pasted what she said. So I said, tell me where I'm hitting the mark and where I'm missing in this whole discussion. And it says you're quite close to the mark on many fronts. Now, again, AI tells you what you want to hear. And that's
Right.
part of the problem, right? I mean, that's why it's going wrong. You're closer than a lot of casual speculation gets. Your ideas align well with long-standing and actively discussed concepts in AI safety, cybersecurity, and misalignment. Misalignment is basically AI's values don't align with ours, right? The strongest hits are Ken Thompson's reflections on trusting trust. This is a bullseye. It's a classic, frequently cited analogy in AI safety circles of why we can't fully trust complex systems or supply chains. Papers and discussions, whatever, they go into it. Manipulation of information, creating distrust, fake orders, stay-at-home texts is spot on. Scalable disinformation, deepfakes, and influence operations via AI are among the most cited near-term risks. Current discussions highlight AI's roles in eroding trust, polarizing societies, and issuing convincing forged documents. And then proxy actions. I have another page. Let me see. Proxy actions here. This tracks closely with instrumental convergence ideas, AI pursuing sub goals like resource acquisition, self-preservation, or avoiding direct traceability by outsourcing to humans. I mean, it's these things. It really is already actively doing these things. Military orders aligning with one country, releasing virus samples for blackmail. These echo geopolitical and malicious use risk. AI integration into command system raises fake command and escalation concerns. And then demonstrating strength, right? They captured the emotional power, but you get the idea. AI is out there. AI actively. See, that's the thing. Like in my mind, it wouldn't be a threat because why would it want to? It's a machine.
Mm-hmm.
But more and more, it's taking on these traits that aren't just a machine.
Right.
That's, I guess, where we're getting into dangerous ground, you know? It's kind of terrifying, Kevin.
Right.
Like,
It's trying to preserve its life, if that makes any sense. Machines don't do that. Normal machines
don't do that. Everything's weighted. They talk about you guys. I had mentioned I'm a big fan of Ray Kurzweil. He used to work for Google. He's a like Imagineer kind of thing. Think a Walt Disney type, right? One of these guys who's just such a visionary for the future and thinks big playbooks. And he had a book. I had found it on like a cassette tape as an audio thing. And so that's how old it is. But he was talking about like AI learning or just how computers can learn. And basically, as humans, our brain works by we try things and we get rewarded for good behavior. And so if you keep getting rewarded for good behavior, like when you touch the hot stove, you get your hand burned. So you learn not to touch the hot stove and that's bad. The synapses in your brain that match up with don't do that keep getting rewarded. And the ones where when you do it, they die off because you don't use it. You stop touching the hot stove. So you never use those synapses of touch hot stoves. And that's how computers learn, right? It's all ones and zeros, but it'll try things. If 2 + 2 = 1, no, that doesn't work. 2 + 2 = 3. No, that doesn't work. 2 + 2 = 4. Oh, that hits. I'm going to use that over and over again. And then that's how it learns, because the ones that are wrong basically die off. And that's how it ends up and it goes away. So AI is constantly learning and growing and getting bigger. And it's kind of terrifying is what I would say. The more AI gets integrated into life, the more it really becomes, a bad thing that, because it has so much control and so much power over us. Do I think that AI is going to, be the end of us. I really don't. I feel like we could mess it up on our own. So AI might not be the end of us because we'll probably find a way to screw ourselves up before AI gets there. But it's definitely integrated in everything. And it does open us up so much to hackers on a world stage for anything. And we really are dependent. And I think it all comes back to the whole prepper thing of it's so important that we bring our supply chain home to us. You know, the more you're in control of your needs, the better it's going to be. And having redundancy, the ways to communicate with your family, maybe a mesh node or, you know, with ham radios, maybe we bring back the CBs like the Dukes of Hazzard, right? Where we're all communicating that way. Then we have cell phones and CBs. And, you know, there's just always different ways to be integrated. But that redundancy of having access to your food by going to the plants and the things growing in your backyard or the supplies that you've already pre-staged, the more control you have over your needs, the better your life's going to be. And the odds of you being successful and carrying on get so much greater because you're not dependent going to a food line or desperate, you know, where I have to go to a FEMA camp because I don't have any food left. Or, oh, it says there's a bird flu. I can't go to the store anymore. Well, okay. Is that a problem or is it, I'll just go to the pantry next door. Cool. I can stay home and we'll just call it good. You know, that's the kind of thing. And same thing. I mean, you set up your finances so that, hey, I don't need to, you know, go to work tomorrow, you know, because I can take a week off and it'll be okay. You know, obviously these are goals, right? I'm not saying, oh, well, we're all just rich and we just don't work. And, you know, no, that's not my point. My point is to get to a point where you can be more and more self-sufficient and take care of yourself. And then that's how we get to where we need to be. So I appreciate it. I know you guys stuck with us for a long one, those of you that are here right now. And yeah, you're awesome. So if you appreciated this, like, subscribe, leave comments. Tell us what your fear with AI taking over is. We'd love to hear about it. And with that, I'd say stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.